Yeah, stand up, wait for the mic. Be loud.
Hi, I'm a teacher. My name's Heather. And this is my 23rd year teaching. I moved here in 2016, so I'm part of Tier 6. So I was just wondering what your plan was to help Tier 6 people, get better retirement.
Can you put your hand up if you do not know what Tier 6 is? So I'm gonna do a little bit of an explainer. There has long been an understanding that if you... Oh, Andrew Cuomo cut the mics. And you'll understand why he cut the mic. There's long been an understanding that if you go into public service, you might not make what you would make in the private sector, but you would at least have a pension that you could count on. Now, Andrew Cuomo, when he was governor of this state, he was the architect of one of the most significant attacks on the public pension system of New York. Created a new tier, Tier 6, that would steal years and hard-earned money out of the pockets and the lives of public sector workers across this state. And he did that because he did not want to tax his own donors. And I'm not just saying this because I'm also a Tier 6 employee. Now, I speak to you as a state assembly member. We have some incredible state assembly members here in the house. Albany is a place where when the mayor comes, they have one of the biggest megaphones you could ever find. And the mayor's agenda is one that can influence what is considered important, a necessity, urgent, or what can simply be pushed along to another year. And one critical part of my Albany agenda, it's not just going to be winning the revenue to make buses fast and free, to deliver universal child care. It's not just going to be tackling a broken and inequitable property tax system. It is also going to be finally undoing the crisis of Andrew Cuomo's making and fixing Tier 6.
Okay, I see a woman over there in the red. Yep.
Hi, Bernie. It's such a pleasure. I'm a new mom. I had a kid. Well, actually, he just turned 1, so I'm not such a new mom. And I'm also a proud member of the Democratic Socialist of America. And I just want to say the incredible joy of having a kid. It really hurts after the child care. It's so expensive to have a child. I pay $2,700 a month. That is over $32,000 a year to be able to work. And I would love for Zohran to give us let us know what it is that he needs from people like me, working parents. How do you need us to show up in order for universal child care to become a reality in New York City? Because I would love to give my kid a sibling. I would love to save for housing. I would love to save for college. But I cannot do that under the current conditions. Thank you so much.
Bernie was saying earlier that we have to feel the depth of these statistics that we often grow numb to. We recite them, we read them, we know them, and yet we often do not feel them. How much money did you say you spend a year on childcare? Over $32,000. Over $32,000. That is more money than if Diana sent that same kid 18 years from now to Brooklyn College. That is more money. And that is why, after housing, childcare is the leading cost that is pushing New Yorkers out of this city, pushing them out of this state. Now, there will be many who will say that an agenda that seeks to meet the needs of working people is too ambitious. Those those were the same people who told us we could never have universal pre-K in New York City. Now, it is a fact of life. So I say this, that your question is, what can others do to ensure that we win this? Do not stop organizing. You know, Deanna said she's a member of NYC DSA. It's an organization that has a few members that are here. It's an organization that I've been a member of. And it's an organization that's also tabling right here at this event. And if you don't know more about it, you should go and talk to them. And I would tell you to join an organization, join DSA, join any organization that continues to remind you that you will be the ones to deliver this change. Because there's, as Bernie has said, there are myths we have been told about our politics. Myths about waiting and trusting the experts. But when you ask the experts to show their work, it is the life that we live today. It is time for people to understand that politics is not something that we have, it's something that we do. And for people to understand that all of you in this room, we are all leaders together. And the only way that any one of us has any semblance of power when we are inside a room is if we can point outside the room and say, you don't want to talk to those guys. You don't want to talk to the people across this city and this state who are demanding this. That the demands we bring forth, they are not just our own personal fixations. They are reflections of the needs of working class people who are unwilling to wait any longer.
If I could just very briefly put an apostrophe on what Zohran said. Well, I'm sorry. What I just wanted to say in terms of the woman's point, we have got to not only change our national priorities. I'll give you an example. In Congress right now, I will vote against a $150 billion increase in military spending. But can you imagine, at a time we already spend more than the next 10 nations combined, $150 billion for Trump's military, but apparently we don't have enough money to provide quality child care to our children. We must not ever for 1 second accept that. That is insane. All right? Okay. Let's go over here. Gentleman right here. Yeah. Badge, you gonna?
Hello, Senator Sanders. Hello, Mr. Mamdani. I'm Abdul Innes from Canarsie, Brooklyn. I just look at this campaign and it reminds me a little bit what happened a few years ago in Buffalo. A lady by the name of India Walton She ran and she defeated the Democratic incumbent.
Right.
But somehow that Democratic incumbent ran as an independent, and I've heard some schemy things were going on. He was able to somehow retain his seat. And it's almost like deja vu right now with Governor Cuomo. Well, Andrew Cuomo right now, who's you defeated, but he's back as an independent. And I don't know if it's a Democratic Party of New York. It seems like it's going on all over the country. I think Seattle, some lady named Wilson is winning and doing great. So how do we make sure that something not like this doesn't happen again, and it's just straight up, you win and have fair elections?
We have to beat Andrew Cuomo one more time. We do. We do. This is a man who does not understand that no means no. This is a man who lost by 13 points to a campaign, our campaign, that got the most votes in New York City primary history, and still thinks that this is his race to win. But I appreciate the question also because it's a reminder to us that this job is not done. The best way to prepare for January is by winning a mandate in November. And we will face an incredible amount of money being spent against us. We will face smears and slander. We will face the kind of opposition that we have not yet seen in this city. And yet we know that we have all the same ingredients that defeated those same things in the primary. So, what my ask is to each and every one of you, we do not ask for your money because we are finished fundraising. We ask you for something more valuable. We ask you for your time. Can you put your hand up if you've canvassed for this campaign? This is beautiful. Now, I would ask you to come and canvass again. I would ask those of you that didn't raise your hand to do so, to join us, because it will be people, the likes of which we have not seen. 52,000 volunteers in the primary. We are going to get to 90,000 volunteers in the general. I don't know if we've said that publicly, so to the field team, now we really got to get there. We're good? 90,000. We knocked on 1.6 million doors and made 2.1 million phone calls. And now we have to do it again. And I want to just say one last thing on this, which is that we know that Senator Sanders' politics, the vision, the ethos of this campaign, it's not just specific to Democrats. It speaks to people across party lines. On Election Day, I was outside Maria Hernandez Park in Bushwick. And I was walking, it was about 6 or 7 p.m., and I had, like many candidates, convinced myself this was the end. We were going to lose. And in that spiral of anxiety, a man came on his motorbike. He took off his helmet. I had no idea what he was going to say. He said, "Can I get a selfie?" I said, "Brother, have you voted?" He said, "I was told I can't vote in a primary." I said, "Who told you that?" I said, "Give me your driver's license. Let's look up your voter registration." He was a registered Republican. He's 18 years old, registered Republican. And I said, "You can't vote today, but if we win, you can vote in November." I tell you that story because there are so many other New Yorkers just like him who see themselves in this campaign, see themselves in this struggle, and they need someone to knock on their door, to call their phone, to let them know that they have a place in this movement because they have a place in this city. That's what we need to do.
I want to, if I might, I want to add a point to that very good question. Maybe a little bit out of place here, but I want to do it. I find it a little bit strange that when we have a candidate who competed very hard against a number of other people in the Democratic primary, my understanding is you won that primary. Is that correct? My understanding is you are the Democratic Party candidate for mayor of the city of New York, correct? Now, apropos of that question, I find it hard to understand how the major Democratic leaders in New York State are not supporting the Democratic candidate. One might think that if a candidate starting at 2% in the polls gets 50,000 volunteers, creates enormous excitement, gets young people involved in the political process, gets non-traditional voters to vote, Democratic leaders will be jumping up and down. This is our guy. So we got another fight on our hands, and that is the future of the Democratic Party. All right, let's get a question somewhere in the back there. Let me go way on the bleachers. All right. Faz, you want to get back there and select somebody? Whoa. There's a lot of hands going up.
Who's the Berkeley College student?
What? I didn't hear. What are they saying?
Jim.
Okay. All right, one tonight. Faz, you got a question back there? Wait, look, there are many people raising their hands. I can't call on everybody at the same time.
Senator Sanders, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
And Assemblyman Zohran Mamdani, can you hear me?
I too can hear you.
My name is Danya. I'm a student here at Brooklyn College. I'm Jewish, first-generation American by Soviet Jews. I am also a trans woman, and I attend school here, and I was here back in May as a student and as a private journalist here during the encampment. Since then, 4 faculty members have been fired, and these are adjunct faculty members. Since those 4 faculty members have been fired, 5 faculty members and 1 staff are now under investigation by the direction of Chancellor Felix Matos and President Michelle Anderson. We, as the students, have been targeted time and time again, not just by the administration, but by the faculty who are against us, and by the public safety who have been pointing me out to each other all night long, because I refuse to let the fact that Mr. Mamdani's team has put us Brooklyn College students in the very back with black wristbands, segregated from everybody else, when we should be up front. We are the next generation of revolutionaries. We should be speaking to you. In 2016, I met you, Mr. Sanders, outside James Madison High School, our alma mater. How would you feel if you were a student now being told to sit in the back?
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up. And I want to first address the points that you raised about the faculty members, about the repression. And the reason that I began my speech in solidarity with PSC. Can you all stand up if you're a PSC member? Can you stand up if you're a student of Brooklyn College? What we have seen, and James, for a little dramatic effect, can I steal your hat? Thank you, James. Give it up for the head of the PSC, James Davis! I have a very large hat. I wear this hat, and I say this in this moment, because the point that is being raised is that we are seeing faculty members who are facing not just discipline, but termination for the crime of expressing solidarity with the fight for Palestinian human rights. And I know that this is a repression that is not unique to Brooklyn College. It is a repression that extends even to the ways in which we choose when to send police officers onto college campuses. The incident around encampments here at Brooklyn College, the decision to surge officers into that site is one that leaves students less safe than they were before. And that is why I have said, as a mayor who will live up to Eric Adams, of all people's statement in 2021, that New Yorkers need not choose between safety and justice, that I will be committed to delivering actual safety, not to the use of the term as a means of repression. And so this commitment is one that I do not just make as a candidate, it is also one that I will fulfill as the mayor of this city.
Okay, let's try this section over here. No, woman, way in the back. Excuse me. Well, no, you cannot. Over there, please. Go.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking my question. And I'm really worried about everything. My name is Nirvana Garcia, actually, and I'm a psychology student at La Guardia Community College. Woo! So something is really thinking it in my brain since I saw this new administration attacking us, using social media to deny transgender identity. That's not true. They're denying identity. They're using disinformation, misinformation, and they're using their power to deny identities and to erase identities. That's not right. They're using disinformation, misinformation, and they are just basically destroying our culture.
Yes.
Please, Mr. Sanders, what can we do to fight against disinformation that they are doing?
We are taking on a demagogue, and the demagogues do several things. One of the things they do is engage in the big lie. They lie all of the time. They lie all of the time. And they, with their big lie, whether it is in vaccines, whether it's what happened on January of 2021, whether in fact Trump won the election in 2020, they engage in big lies. That's what demagogues do. And we've got to fight them every way that we can. And one of the good things is I am seeing on the internet a lot of young people doing podcasts right now who are talking truth to power. But you got to fight back, because the cornerstone of what Trumpism is about is a big lie, and you're right. All right, other questions? Okay, young lady right here. All right. Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Sanders and Mr. Mamdani. I'm so excited to talk to you guys. Here's my question. So basically, I'm going to sit down because I have a lot of spine issues. So here's my question. So 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with 5 conditions in my spine that result in sometimes debilitating chronic pain. And I had to quit my full-time job at the time because it was not like... It was a very physical job. It was an education-related job. I signed a contract in March to be a first-grade teacher this school year, and 3 days before I was supposed to start, I learned that the school would not accommodate my physical disability. And so now I'm out of work, and I'm also an artist. I'm also a fourth-generation New Yorker. My mom's family has been New Yorkers as long as we've been Americans. Okay, so here's my question. I joined your campaign, Mr. Mamdani, because I love everything you stand for. And so my question is twofold. One, how are you going to fix Accessoride? And what do you say, and what do you, Mr. Mamdani, say, given Cardi B on the stand, what do you say to men who try to make beautiful women from the Bronx be quiet?
Don't. You know, and I think I have to say that every time I sit and talk to Senator Sanders, he will always bring up healthcare. He will bring up the importance of it, the necessity of it, and the fact that we need not wait for a federal government to understand our own role in reckoning with this broken system. And I think of Accessoride as one of many examples of city government's own failures. I have been guilty in the beginnings of my politics of thinking that if I were to admit the incompetence, the inefficiencies, the failures of the public sector, I would be inviting critique of the existence of that sector. But when you do not admit those things, when you do not reckon with those betrayals, those failures, you make it seem as if you do not care about the outcomes of that sector. We have allowed the right wing to take language of efficiency, of fraud, of waste, of quality of life as if it is their own. It should be the cornerstones of progressive politics. And so to your point, accessoride. We can even go further with how so many New Yorkers get around New York City. More than 1 million ride the bus. We have to reckon with the failures. And one of the first things I will be doing when I get to City Hall, with the help of each and every one of you, is to audit the entirety of the work that we do and that we fund. Because we need to deliver excellence. We need to ensure that public transit, that accessoride, these are not the things that only those who cannot afford something else turn to. We need to make them so good, so reliable, so dependable, that no matter how much money is in your pocket, you say, I'm going to use this. That's what we have to do.
Zohran raises two important issues. Now, there are a lot of people raising their hands, all right? Please don't shout out. We'll do our best here. But just want to comment on one point, and I want everybody to understand this in their souls. You are living in the only major country on earth that does not guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child. Over 40% of Americans who are struggling with cancer go bankrupt or deplete their life savings. That's 500,000 people go bankrupt because of medical bills. That is cruel, immoral, absurd. And despite all of that, we're spending, talk about efficiency, we're spending twice as much per capita on health care as the people in any other country. We should have the best gold standard healthcare system in the world, not one of the worst. So that's a fight we've got to wage and not ever give up on. All right, I see a woman right there, right in the middle, in a white blouse. Yes. Yeah, ma'am. Yes. Stand up. All right. Yes, you stand up, get a mic. Do we got her a mic? Faz, you got a mic? Okay.
This is scary. Hi, Senator Sanders, you're my hero. I canvassed for you, and I would do it again.
Thank you.
And Mamdani, depending on how you answer this question, me and my children will canvass for you too. So my question is that, you know, I'm so thankful for everything you said. We've called out every issue, every community. You stood for my family. I'm third generation. My grandma, projects, Brooklyn, my dad. And I feel like you stood up for our family. I got to go to CUNY and all these things. And as a black woman in New York, I feel privileged because there are we all say we're native New Yorkers, but there are the original native New Yorkers, the Lenape people, who are the original chosen stewards of where we are. I'm part of a CUNY Indigenous Sovereignty Collective. I'm an Indigenous rights activist. And I tell you that they are still here. They are still trying to come home. We talk about the kids here, but what about the kids from here? How are you going to help them get education? How are we going to provide housing for them? You know, they are the first people who suffered from this capitalist core that we're in. Thanks. Remember, I may or may not canvass for you after this.
We have to answer every question, like someone may or may not. You know, I think one thing that has frustrated me is the idea that by acknowledging that betrayal, we have then done the work of actually reckoning it with it. if the entirety of our commitment to people who are native to this city, to this state, to this country is simply an acknowledgement, that is insufficient. And I have spoken often about the universal commitment that we have across this city, but it will also take a lens to understand what are the specific ways in which we have let people down. What are the specific ways in which we have refused to learn from our own history? And I will tell you with honesty that there is so much for me to learn and for so many of us to learn about the ways we can actually meet that requirement. And I tell you this because oftentimes in politics it's seen as if we have a theory of one great person who simply has all of the ideas and they're coming to deliver us into the future that we deserve. When I was speaking earlier and I went through freezing the rent, making buses fast and free, delivering universal childcare, the idea of making buses fast and free was not my idea. It was an idea that I had given to me in a meeting with another New Yorker who was passionate about transit, Alicia Singham Goodwin. When we were having meeting after meeting about our campaign to fix the MTA, we were soliciting people for advice of what do you think we should do. And I share this with you to say that I look at you and to everyone in this crowd as the potential source of the answer to how we actually reckon with it. Because I have an interest in actually answering that question. Thank you.
All right, let me make an apology here. I've got a plane to catch, so maybe one more question. I see a woman, Faz, right behind you. Yeah. Woman, no, that's one. Yep. All right, both women, all right. 2 questions, let's go. Start off.
Hello, Senator Sanders, Zohran Mamdani. My name is Remy Bahati. I'm a Ugandan-born, Columbia-educated journalist. I have a question, probably you can both answer it. Uganda has been in the news for the wrong reasons, and the reason is because they have accepted to host deportees from the US, and it's setting a precedent for New York immigrants who are every day living in fear of being deported to countries like Uganda, to countries that we have no idea about. Zohran, first I would like you to pronounce yourself on the decision by Uganda, where you're originally from, on taking immigrants from the US. And then 2, what are you going to do to protect immigrant New Yorkers living in fear every single day?
So I have to say a few words in Luganda to begin, because I'm a New Yorker, I'm an American, and also Ndimuna Uganda. I think it is wrong to accept any part in the Trump administration's deportation agenda. It is wrong. It should be opposed, and we should understand that the greatest responsibility is with this administration here, seeking to tear families apart across this country. We are in a city where 40% of New Yorkers were born outside of this country. I am one of those New Yorkers. And we know that while I am proud to be one of the first immigrant mayors of this city in generations, that representation in and of itself is insufficient. We must be prouder still of the work that we will do. And so one of the key things that we can do here in New York City is to actually start to provide legal representation to New Yorkers in detention proceedings. There are tens of thousands of New Yorkers who are in immediate danger of deportation. And City Hall has only assisted fewer than 200. Fewer than 200. And the reason is not simply an illustration of our values that we are betraying that. It's because we know that this is effective. Just the mere act of having legal representation in that proceeding increases your likelihood to go home to your family by 11-fold. 11-fold. And so one of the first priorities of my administration will be to increase funding by tens of millions of dollars to scale up this program such that we do everything in our power to ensure that immigrant New Yorkers are not living in fear across this city. I could keep going, but I know the senator's got to go.
I just wanted to add to that. This idea of picking people up off the street with men who have masks around their faces, throwing them into vans, taking them to God knows where, and then deporting them to countries where they know nobody is beyond unspeakable. It is disgusting. It is what takes place in two-bit dictatorships. That's what happens in dictatorships, not in the United States of America. So in Washington, we have our responsibility to stop that ugly behavior. All right, last question, woman in the back there. Yeah, ma'am.
Hi, thank you so much for the time. My name is Samantha. I'm a labor rights activist. My question was going to be, thank you. My question was going to be about protecting immigrant populations because so frequently they are the ones who are being exploited in the workplace. But since you have already answered that beautiful question, thank you so much, from this wonderful woman in front of me. Could I ask how you're going to protect this city from the National Guard coming in?
The first thing is we have to prepare for the inevitability of that deployment. We cannot try and convince ourselves that because something is illegal, Donald Trump will not do it. We have to be prepared, and we have to be clear-eyed. And we have to understand that it will take every single tool at our disposal. We saw in California the mayor of LA, the attorney general of the state, and the governor work together to fight back against the White House's deployment of the National Guard. They filed a lawsuit. A federal judge just recently found in their favor that the deployment of the National Guard was illegal. I give you this example because partnership is critically important in fighting back against Donald Trump. Can you imagine Andrew Cuomo working together with Tish James and Kathy Hochul to fight back against the deployment? Why would he fight back when it's Donald Trump that's trying to get him elected right now? But it's not enough to just file that lawsuit. We also have to ensure that we make clear that if Donald Trump is interested in helping New York, which is the premise of all of these deployments, of cleaning up our cities, he should undo the legislation that he has passed that is attacking this same city. Because when I meet New Yorkers, I hear from them how they already can't afford this place. I hear from them how it is further and further out of reach. And this legislation, this is going to tear the fabric of our city apart. That is where his focus should be. And that is what all of us will be fighting for.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you all very much for coming out. Thank you. You know, getting to be 50 years of age, Zohran, it's not that easy. Pretty hard. All right. There you go. All right. Brothers and sisters, I think what we have heard tonight from the questions, from Zohran, from me, these are unprecedented and difficult moments in our history. But you know what? This country has gone through difficult moments in the past. The essence of Trumpism is dividing us up. What we believe is bringing our people together. They are the 1%. We are the 99%. Let us stand together. Let us defeat oligarchy and make New York and America the places we know they can become. Thank you all very much.